The blaze so intense, officials will have to rely on dental records to identify the woman who perished in its flames, along with her 2 dogs. Those who knew the victim were left in shock.
I can't believe that she died in there. Oh my goodness, she was a real nice person.
And the flames weren't satisfied with one building. They ripped through others, trying to take more lives along the way. A day later, 69 news cameras were there as the lucky ones who escaped returned to save whatever they could from the rubble.
I was the lucky one. Almost everything else anybody else had in the building is all gone. It's all junk.
The fire has touched many across the region, even the mayor, who says it's been a tough year for firefighters.
You could see that no one wants to see a fatality at a fire, and especially when it gets to the point there's nothing you can do.
And as the questions linger, many will never forget the woman who needlessly lost her life in this unforgiving fire.
And now this. It's just real scary. I mean, you see her a couple days ago, and then you never know, when they're going to die.
County Command 468.
It's been an all-hands-on-deck operation as firefighters from across the region converged on Mount Penn to battle a stubborn brush fire. The steep mountain made for tough going for firefighters, and the winds caused the blaze to quickly spread to more than 8 acres.
Commander ready.
Officials shared a bit of their strategy for beating this beast of a fire.
We want to dig a line, a physical trench or a physical line around the whole thing. Right now, we just have it surrounded with a wet line and a hose line.
At one point, running hoses to the fire just wasn't an option. Firefighters were then evacuated from the mountain, and an airplane was called in to drop water from the air.
It's pretty surprising. You don't see it very often up here, any brush fires, but I'm glad to see they're on top of it.
It's incredible. It's creeping up the entire side of the mountain. It's something we haven't seen in a while.
Now officials are just hoping for some rain and praying the wind doesn't pick up.
It was very scary in there. We thought the roof was literally going to come off the building. That's how bad it was. We couldn't hear nothing. The customers were panicking.
People across Wyomissing were in a state of fear as powerful winds and damaging hail pummeled the region. Some were able to escape it by running into businesses, while others, like Jackie Illis, who was 8 months pregnant, were left stranded on the highway.
I actually ended up climbing in the back seat because I was afraid this was going to break in my face.
People say the golf ball-sized hail only lasted about 5 minutes, but it packed a punch, leaving extensive damage to hundreds of vehicles.
The back window's gone, 2 rearview mirrors are gone, and the windshield is all cracked. We've got damage to the headlights and the bumpers and everything.
And the dents are unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Much of Berks County now looks like a war zone as damaged vehicles and piles of glass litter the streets.
I almost freaked because I don't have money to buy another vehicle, and I just hope the insurance company pays for it.
Leaving people in awe of what Mother Nature can do.
It's just amazing how much damage nature can do. I wasn't involved with Hurricane Sandy and Katrina, but now you could see just one little hailstorm how much it can really hurt.
Cell phones. They've become a modern necessity.
I sleep with my cell phone. I use the bathroom with my cell phone.
Every day, like all day.
A necessity that some just can't live without.
I would be lost, very disappointed.
Pennsylvania Attorney General Kathleen Kane warns that cell phone robberies are on the rise. In fact, she says 30 to 40% of all robberies nationwide are cell phone related.
People are literally dying for their cell phones. This has become a new wave of crime that we have to solve so that people are safer.
One pizzerific delivery driver learned the hard way. She didn't want to appear on camera for fear of retribution after she was robbed at knife point in early January in the 300 block of Minor Street in Reading.
Within seconds, when I looked away to tell him the total,
He held a knife to me and wanted all my money in my pocket and pushed me on the ground and demanded my cell phone.
She says she immediately gave in to his demands out of fear for her life.
I would have gave him anything he wanted. You know, I have 3 kids at home. It's a very helpless feeling.
The delivery driver was one of 118 cell phone robbery victims in Reading over the last year. But Philadelphia is the #1 city in the country for cell phone thefts.
Sideways.
Kane says cell phone thefts happen most frequently
Route 17.
on public transportation lines like SEPTA.
Smartphones can be sold for up to $2,000 on the black market. That's why Attorney General Kane wants manufacturers to install a kill switch, which would make a cell phone worthless.
And that's a very important deterrent. Once we have reduced the demand for these smartphones, then we will decrease the violent crime and hopefully wipe it right out.
So how do you protect yourself? You wouldn't whip out a roll of money in public, so why flaunt your phone? Kane says you should keep it safely tucked away in highly populated areas. And always be aware of identity theft if you store personal information. Jennifer Joas, 69 News. Family members and friends welled up with tears as they gathered outside this home in the 500 block of Spruce Street in Reading. They were there to remember 86-year-old Pedro Morales and 87-year-old Miriam Vega, a couple tragically killed during a fast-moving fire on Sunday night.
It's still so unreal. It's just really hard to just accept, and especially this time of year.
The blaze ripped through their home around 8:30 that night. Family members tell us the two were bedridden, leaving them unable to escape in time. During the vigil, family members cried out in agony, "I don't want to live without them. No, I won't accept it."
Every year around this time, something, not to sound negative, but every year something always happens, and it just takes the cake. Like, to lose the ones who started this whole family, you know, like, it's just, I don't know, I have no words.
It's a tough loss for these family members who tell us their grandfather was full of life, a jokester at heart who always had nicknames for everyone. And their grandmother would light up anytime music came on, taking to the dance floor regardless of who was around. Now relatives are just trying to relive the good times and thank everyone for their support.
Family members of the deceased are just reminding people who came out tonight to embrace their family this holiday season.
It doesn't matter any problem you have with your family, an argument, anything, just forget about it. You never know when's your last day here on earth, so just hug them, hold them tight, be there for them. It doesn't matter.
Investigators say the blaze started on the first floor, but they're still unsure of what sparked it. In Reading, Jennifer Joas, 69 News.
It's nasty, it's pathetic, and they shouldn't have it here.
It seems this one Christmas tree located at 5th and Penn has hit the wrong nerve with some residents in Reading.
Yeah, it does look a little pitiful. It's very sad.
Ay, yo no la quiero dar, si está horrible.
You don't need to speak Spanish to know what this woman thinks of the tree. Some of its branches fall into the ground as if they've already given up the fight.
Not to be funny, if it was a squirrel right now looking for a place to live in the winter, it won't even go into this tree.
It looks sad. Everybody's calling it a Charlie Brown tree.
City Council President Francis Acosta is leading the charge to replace the tree. The group, Christmas for Downtown Reading, raised money and will be looking for 2 new trees in Coombrew Township on Saturday.
So hopefully we'll be able to have a beautiful Penn Street appropriate tree here by Monday night.
Officials say scheduling conflicts prevented them from postponing Friday night's tree lighting ceremony until the new tree arrived. But as the children's choir sang, many put on a brave face and tried to enjoy the event as best they could.
3, 2, 1. The city deserves having a beautiful, good spirit Christmas, and we're going to offer that to the city.
Mike Caruso was in search of a hobby, something off the couch, outside to pass the time. So he took up metal detecting, hoping to uncover buried treasure, and he has.
So some silver rings, you know, some change from the late 1700s, early 1800s.
He's collected a box full of coins, buttons and knobs over the past year and a half. But it was Saturday when he struck gold in his wife's grandmother's backyard in Long Swamp Township near the septic system.
And I pulled out what looked like a ring, and I cleaned it off and stuck it on my finger and put my gloves back on and pulled out another bottle cap.
When he looked at the ring, he saw an engraving, FRM to PPK 11852.
I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it.
Pearl Meck and her husband Franklin were married on that day 61 years ago. And it turns out Pearl lost her gold wedding ring in the shower inside the same house more than 4 decades ago.
My ring slipped off my finger and went down the drain. And there's nothing much I could do about it.
She never thought she would see it again. Her husband bought her a new one, but it wasn't the same. But thanks to Mark's hobby, he unearthed Pearl's treasure, missing for years.
I didn't know if I should cry. I was just in shock.
It's so much more than a piece of jewelry. It's a piece of her life back. Ryan Hughes, 69 News.